Imagine a world where everything goes exactly according to plan. No friction, no surprises, just a perfectly controlled environment where every variable is accounted for. In safety science, we call this work as imagined, or WHY. It's the domain of regulators, planners, and the thick policy manuals sitting on a manager's desk. We picture this idealized procedure as the black line. It's a path that assumes perfect conditions, infinite time, and flawless execution. This rigid, one right way thinking has deep roots. It goes back to early industrial engineering and figures like Frederick Winslow Taylor, who treated human behavior as a mechanical variable that could be forced into procedural molds. The fatal flaw of the black line is that it relies on a perfectly static world, and that world simply does not exist anywhere outside of a boardroom. Step onto a real job site and perfect plans immediately fall apart. You're hit with thick mud, heavy rain, and chaotic movement. This is work as done, or WAD. It represents the messy, non-linear path that workers actually take to achieve their organizational goals. Every day, workers are forced to deviate from the plan. Equipment breaks down, specific tools go missing, production pressures mount, and the weather turns. To get the job done, humans adapt. Here is the central tension. When an incident finally occurs, management points to that perfectly straight black line and blames the worker for deviating. They completely ignore the reality that strict compliance was likely impossible to begin with. Instead of only looking at accidents, we need to ask what happens during normal operations when workers deviate from the manual. Look at the data here. It highlights a reality missing from accident reports. Most work ends in success, even when setting the manual aside. The peaks and valleys represent the countless adjustments workers make every shift. This constant adaptation keeps these systems running. This mindset is known as safety 2. It focuses on how people actively ensure things go right, rather than just reacting when they go wrong. Human variability acts as the problem-solving engine that spans the distance between flawed, rigid procedures and successful outcomes. In reality, strict adherence to pre-established action guidelines is often entirely incompatible with real efficiency targets and actual operational capabilities. Imagine a real-world scenario where a heavy concrete pump hose suddenly cracks and starts spilling under immense pressure. Workers have to quickly redirect it and improvise a solution right then and there to save the poor. This cartoon perfectly illustrates the mental and physical overload placed on modern operators. They are constantly expected to reconcile conflicting goals, safety, speed, and production, all at the same time, exposing the absurdity of expecting perfect procedural compliance on demand. This brings us to human and organizational performance, or HOP. A foundational principle of HOP is that error is normal. It is a biological reality. The human brain automates repetitive tasks to conserve energy, and that automation sometimes leads to errors. Workers are almost never maliciously breaking rules. They make rational, necessary compromises to balance competing systemic pressures that the planners simply failed to account for. Let's pivot to the perspective of the boardroom. When leadership distances itself from the front line, they create dangerous blind spots. They often rely on safety clutter, excessive paperwork, and rigid compliance checks. This creates an illusion of control for management, while forcing workers into a zombie-like tick box mode, where completing forms becomes more important than identifying hazards. We call this risk accumulation. It's the hidden danger that builds up in the unseen gap between the formalized policy and the actual daily practice. Warning tone. If leaders only measure safety by measuring compliance to the black line, they remain completely blind to the actual operational hazards accumulating on the floor, until a catastrophic failure forces them to look. The solution is never to force the blue line to become perfectly straight. That is impossible. Instead, we must redesign the black line so that it better reflects reality. The first actionable step for leaders is to go to the gemba. This is a Japanese term meaning the real place. It means leaving the office to observe and listen to work exactly as it happens at the sharp end. Second, change the conversation during investigations. Stop asking who failed, because blame fixes nothing. Start asking what failed in the system and how can we support you. Third, organizations must aggressively study normal, everyday work, not just the accidents. You have to uncover the weak signals and brilliant adaptations happening constantly on the floor. True safety emerges only when an organization stops punishing its people for adapting to a flawed system and starts designing systems that support human resilience. To master more modern safety concepts like this, subscribe to the HSE Study YouTube channel.